Tonight on KGW News, a horrible home invasion. A woman is attacked in her shower. Now we've learned the suspect was arrested twice earlier that day and never went to jail. Plus,
all these years later, I can still recall all the details of police stuff that I've experienced in my life.
a push to prevent racial profiling, how Oregon lawmakers may change when officers can pull you over. Then, Portland to Seattle in just an hour. The renewed plans for a high-speed rail line. And later, vandals hit the statues of beloved children's book characters Ramona and Henry Huggins.
It kind of makes me sad, especially since I grew up with these books.
Your news starts now. And we start tonight with a violent attack in Corvallis. Police say a burglar entered a woman's home and attacked her while she was in the shower. Catherine Cook talked with Corvallis police tonight. And Catherine, they do have the suspect in custody.
Yes, he's in jail now on several charges, Laurel, including first-degree menacing, strangulation, and attempted sex abuse. All of that after he was arrested, but not jailed, 2 other times on the same day.
What started out as a burglary in Corvallis turned into something much worse, police say. They got a call Saturday afternoon from a man at a home near Southwest 7th and Madison.
That the suspect had attacked his girlfriend while she was in the shower.
Corvallis Police Lieutenant Ryan Eaton says the victim told officers the suspect, 29-year-old Garrett Caspino, pulled down his pants while opening the shower door. In her struggle to escape, the woman says Caspino shoved her against the bathroom wall and strangulated her with both hands. When the victim's boyfriend stepped in, Caspino ran out of the house. Police found him nearby and arrested him.
We don't normally see a burglary that does result in a person crime where somebody is victimized inside the home. So it is not a common thing for us to experience in town, and especially at this severity.
But maybe the most unusual part of this case is this was the 3rd time police had arrested Caspino that day. And it was the first time he ended up behind bars.
So currently, due to age and size of our facility in Benton County, we can house up to 40 people in our jail.
Benton County Sheriff Jeff Van Arsdal says the pandemic has decreased capacity even more. Right now, they're only holding people accused of A and B felonies. Most accused of low-level misdemeanors are booked and released. In Caspino's case, his other 2 arrests that day were both for criminal trespass. First, for getting into an unlocked vehicle. The caller said Caspino was acting, quote, totally out there. The second happened at the law enforcement center. Police say Caspino was hiding behind a pillar in a restricted parking area.
We all live in this community, and we want the community to be safe. There's no way you could have predicted 2 low-level trespasses into what transpired later on in the afternoon. You just can't predict that.
And to be clear, Van Arsdal says even in pre-pandemic days, it's unlikely criminal trespass would land someone in jail.
Next year, voters in Benton County will consider a bond measure that could lead to a bigger jail facility and other improvements within its justice system. Laurel.
Thank you, Catherine. Now let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines. The suspect who set off the chain of events leading to the death of Vancouver police officer Donald Sahota now faces murder charges. Julio Segura is accused of robbing a convenience store, then running from police. A Clark County deputy going after Segura mistakenly shot and killed Officer Sahota. Prosecutors argue Segura is still responsible for the officer's death. Investigators also said Segura stabbed Sahota before he was shot, and those injuries would have been life-threatening. Tomorrow, the Oregon Supreme Court is expected to issue a ruling on Nicholas Kristof's eligibility to run for governor. Last month, Oregon's Secretary of State rejected Kristof's formal declaration of candidacy. Oregon law requires candidates for governor to have been a resident of the state for at least 3 years before the election. Though Kristof has property in Yamhill County, the Secretary of State argues he was a resident of New York until late 2020 because that's where he was registered to vote and paid his taxes. Also happening tomorrow, Washington Governor Jay Inslee is expected to make an update to the state's indoor mask mandate. The state's outdoor masking rule will end this Friday. The state will also remove the requirement that hospitals postpone non-elective surgeries, and it will end hospital assignments for National Guard members. Meanwhile, in Oregon, the indoor mask mandate will end no later than March 31st. And that update comes as COVID cases around the region continue to drop. This graph shows the steep decrease in daily cases we've seen since mid-January. But the numbers are still higher than the peak of past surges, which has health officials cautious. Clark County's deputy health officer says even without a mask mandate, you can still choose to wear a mask. And right now, he recommends it.
It makes sense to keep masking in place for now, but I also think in the near future we won't need a requirement. It'll still be an option. We'll still probably recommend it for most people or for all people.
Dr. Krager adds vaccines are still your best protection. As Oregon lawmakers continue their short session, they're considering a bill that would limit traffic stops for certain equipment violations. The goal, supporters say, is to reduce racial profiling. Alma McCarty has more on what's included.
Senate Bill 1510 covers a number of issues related to public safety and criminal justice, governing traffic stops and consent searches, but also post-prison supervision and investing millions of dollars into culturally specific social services.
Babak Zulfagari Azar is part of the Transforming Justice Coalition, which helped craft this legislation.
Really started in the summer of 2020 after George Floyd was murdered. Several organizations and folks from throughout the state who are already doing racial justice work came together to develop and advance the kinds of public safety and criminal justice reforms that are essential for Black and Brown communities to feel safe.
One of those reforms, addressing how traffic stops are handled.
All these years later, I can still recall all the details of police stops that I've experienced in my life. They honestly changed the trajectory of my life. And if these policies that are included in the bill had been in place, I likely wouldn't be living with those experiences.
Senator Floyd Przonski says Senate Bill 1510 is a reconfiguration of a bill from last year, which tackled similar issues.
What it basically does is takes 5 tools out of the toolbox that law enforcement officers have for being able to stop a vehicle on the road. And these are equipment violations. An equipment violation is like a tail light being out, a single tail light or a single headlight.
Senator Przonski explains it doesn't remove the ability for law enforcement to pull people over. A driver could still be stopped for speeding or a moving violation like failing to use a turn signal.
They could, in fact, still stop that vehicle for unsafe operation of a vehicle based on the equipment violation.
The bill also requires the officer to tell the driver they have a right to refuse a search of their vehicle. If the driver consents to a search, an officer must get documentation.
Basically, we're adopting something that's already in practice, and we're just expanding it across the board to all agencies.
The Oregon State Sheriff's Association and chiefs of police said they're taking a neutral position on this bill, but object to one part, saying, "We still believe that the inability to stop a vehicle for an inoperative taillight or headlight creates a safety hazard for the motoring public." Alma McCarty, KGW News.